What's going on, guys? Antonio here. Do me a favor, hit that thumbs up for me, and let's get into it. All right, this is a website called Film Stories. It's a UK website, and they got an article up. I saw a couple people sharing this on X, and some really good conversations were sparked, so I wanted to do some commentary on it. But this is they're releasing a new version of Crocodile Dundee. It's a remastered version that will be released in 4K, and apparently in the updated release, they took out a few scenes that are deemed controversial in 2025. And if you have seen Crocodile Dundee, one of the scenes that was removed from the film is Crocodile Dundee comes to America, and are they in New York or LA? Either way, I think they're in New York. But he's at the bar hanging with the fellas. This beautiful woman comes up and talks to him. He's having a conversation with her and stuff. And there's another guy at one of the other tables, and he's trying to get Crocodile Dundee's attention. And Crocodile Dundee is like, "Hey, excuse me." And he walks over to the person, and he's like, "Dude, I've been trying to get your attention all night. That's a guy. That woman is a guy. That's really a man." And Crocodile Dundee, obviously he's from Australia. They don't do it like that, or at least in the 80s. That was not something that was occurring, I guess, where he was from in Australia. And he was like, "Really?" He goes back over to that person, and he puts his hands down there and and check. It's one of the funnier scenes in the movie. But see, now in 2025, that is deemed as transphobic. So they removed. Now they actually, I think it was like TMZ or one of these gossip. Paul Hogan was walking, and they asked him about, "Hey man, they took some of the scenes out from Crocodile Dundee," and Paul Hogan said that the scenes were removed, but they weren't removed because of wokeness, and it is what it is. Like I said, we got to stop with the revisionist history. You can't, the movie's like 30 some odd years old at this point. It's a 30-year-old film, and it was a big hit. And I mean, there's like 4 or 5 Crocodile Dundee movies. I know that last one had like Mike Tyson in it and stuff. Because it was Paul Hogan and Linda Kozlowski, and they met on that film. They actually got married. They were married for like 15 plus years. They had a child together. They ended up getting divorced, but I think she passed away. But yeah, I like Paul Hogan. I don't have no problem with that. I remember this all seemed to happen under the Biden administration. So, I mean, we've got President Trump back in the White House now. But during the Biden administration, there was a lot of these movies, like movies from like the 30s or 40s. You watch a movie like Gone with the Wind, and you'd be on streaming, and right before the movie aired, they'd put up this like, this movie contains some very sensitive subjects. It's depicting antebellum slavery, blah, blah. It's telling you, like, these films must be viewed in context. Because at first they took Gone with the Wind off the streaming platform, and then they put it back up with the thing. I remember Whoopi Goldberg recorded something at the beginning of one of the films. It was like a little quick, it's like, "Hey, this movie is from a different time, be sensitive." And I was like, yeah, so she got a check for that. And I know Disney Plus, a couple of their old films like Peter Pan and Dumbo, they put, matter of fact, if you still go on the platform now, if you pull those, because at first they had taken them off, and then people was like, "Man, why would you take Peter Pan and Dumbo off the platform?" And so they put them back up. But like when you access the film now, there's a quick little card that comes up at the beginning talking about it has some insensitive depictions. I've also noticed that Song of the South, which is an Academy Award-winning Disney film, is still not available on the Disney Plus platform, at least in the U.S. It may be released because I know Disney was not selling Song of the South in the United States, but you could go on like eBay and they had like the European DVDs that they were selling. So they just weren't selling them in America, but they were making their money internationally and people were selling those DVDs on eBay. But I'm actually curious why they still won't put Song of the South up. That's where we get the song Zippity Doo-Dah from, that they still sing at like Disney. You go to Disney World or whatever, they still have rides and stuff that have, Zippity Doo. That's, it's one of their famous songs, but that's Song of the South. I also was thinking about, what was it? A couple years ago, there was this same controversy came up with Ace Ventura. And matter of fact, Jim Carrey actually spoke about that and he kind of has some regrets. What was what's the woman? I think her name's Sean. Was it Sean Lennon? And she, they hired her. She was one of the actors in the film, and she's playing a cop. Ace Ventura's in there. You work it out. You find out that she was a man at the end of the movie. And there was that whole, like, I guess, Ace Ventura and her did some, they had made out a little bit, found out that she was a dude. And there's this very funny scene with Jim Carrey, like, completely scrubbing himself. And I mean, that scene is hilarious. But, that movie came out in what, 91, 92? And obviously you fast forward to the 2000s, 2010, 2015, all of a sudden people's like, oh my God, that sets a bad example and it means something's wrong with being trans or whatever. And I was like, and then to hear Jim go, yeah, looking back on it, that was probably insensitive. We shouldn't have done it. And that's fair enough for him to say things like that. But at the same point in time, it was funny. It was funny at the time. And when I've seen that scene later, when I watch Ace Ventura, I still think that's funny. So that's just me. Don't dislike anybody or whatever your preference is or whatever. But this whole thing about going back in time and trying to pretend like movies weren't made, or if you bring the movie out now, you go in the movie and try to snip out things that modern audiences might deem offensive. That's not the way to go either. I don't really like stuff like that. And like I said, I always love Crocodile Dundee 1 is still one of my favorite movies. I absolutely love it. And I definitely don't want to watch an edited version of Crocodile Dundee. I want to watch him go and talk to the trans woman and then go, whoa, oh, I didn't know she was cheating. I like that whole thing. And then him walking up to her and grabbing her by the twiggleberries there. but that's just my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong. I have zero problems with you guys disagreeing with me. Get in the comments. Let me know what you guys think. Give us a follow here on this channel and at Facebook, Instagram, X, and Threads, all at Ikari Press. Type in mavenscomic.com and it will take you to the pre-launch page for my comic Maven that we are doing with former WWE superstar Maven Huffman. We're getting really close to launching that, and we want your support. I'm out.
God, I gotta get used to this hellfire.
Is that smoke?
No, everything's fine.
The grass isn't going to cut itself.
I know, I'm on it. I'm in my own comic book. I'm a superhero, and I still have grass to cut. You know what? Go to mavenscomic.com right now and get your very own copy. I mean, as little as $8, and guess what? You can even be drawn into the comic with me. Well, evidently, I have chores to do.